novo uncinge sanctifica.
After the blessing of the new fire, the assembly heads to the empty tomb, the place where Christ passed from death to life. The Church celebrates the resurrection of the Lord. Considered the mother of all holy vigils, the celebration in Jerusalem takes place in the very location of the Anastasis. The Easter candle is engraved by the celebrant and then lit with a light that comes from the tomb. Presiding over the Holy Mass were His Beatitude Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Archbishop Adolfo Tito Iana, Apostolic Nuncio in Israel and Apostolic Delegate in Jerusalem and Palestine, the co-celebrating bishops and numerous priests from many parts of the world. Despite the war, the liturgy was also attended by groups of pilgrims and local communities. A particular liturgy full of details that aims to convey, through its symbolism, the Easter mystery of Christ's life. Everything expresses the goodness of God, who did not let the darkness of death prevail. The Liturgy of the Word meditates on the wonders that the Lord has done for His people from the beginning of time, and trusts in His word and promise. After the seventh reading, the Gloria is intoned, and the lights are turned on. The Gospel of the Resurrection is proclaimed in front of the empty tomb. In his homily, the Patriarch emphasized that the Easter liturgy is built around this place, as well as for the life of the entire Church. And from Jerusalem, as the disciples of Jesus did, the first announcement of this light that illuminates our gaze, which must be directed at Christ, looking at the signs of His resurrection, is made. To meet the risen one, it is necessary to learn to recognize the signs of His presence, the way in which He comes into our history. To see the signs of the risen one, it is therefore necessary to look up. This is what we most need today, to look up. The terrible days we are living have closed us in, seem to have nullified our expectations, closed every road, erased the future. Even our relationships seem reduced, wounded by distrust and misunderstandings, when not by betrayals. Around us, everything seems to speak of failure, just as Jesus' death seemed like the failure of a beautiful project of rebirth, change, and new life that the disciples had bet on. Our aims for peace and reconciliation, for dialogue, seem to have failed today. Jesus broke down the gates of the realm of death with the only weapon death cannot resist, which is love. If we remain in love, we are no longer prisoners of death. Death that held man in its power, that locked him in its realm of loneliness and silence, no longer has the strength and ability to keep anyone prisoner. If we love, we are free. We are risen. We are here in front of this tomb, then, to ask that the stone be removed and that the light of the Lamb shine again on our eyes. We are here to ask for the courage of that love which has the power to overcome the fear that today grips us and binds us. In this sea of hatred that surrounds us, we want to ask for the courage to look up to see the stone of our tombs removed. The good that is done, the courage of lives given, the tenacious desire of many men and women to build relationships of peace, the unresigned pain of those who do not give up betting on others. After the homily, the promises of baptism are renewed, and the Patriarch blesses the water, which is then sprinkled on the faithful. And there, in front of the empty tomb, everyone is invited to participate in the feast that the Lord has prepared with His death and resurrection. This is the night in which you conquered the darkness of sin with the splendor of the pillar of fire. This is the night that saves all believers in Christ across the earth from the darkness of sin and the corruption of the world, consecrates them to the love of the Father, and unites them in the communion of saints. This is the night in which Christ, breaking the bonds of death, rises victorious from the tomb.